You finally got married and you had this great wedding, this great engagement. You were so excited to spend the rest of your life with this person who you were committing yourself to. And then it turns out they seem to want to spend more time with their family that they came from than with you. This is an incredibly common, incredibly frustrating experience that so many couples find themselves in. I'm Nick, and I'm a Christian marriage coach, and I am so honored that you would click on this video looking for some help, and I want to give you some help in this situation. We are going to talk today about some things you can control in this when your spouse chooses the family they came from instead of you. And we're going to talk about some things you cannot and should not control in this situation. So I'm excited. I hope this is going to be helpful. I think it will be. Before we jump in, I want to give you a gift. It is my free training on communication. It's called Communicate Better, Be Happy Together. A big part of navigating a situation where your spouse is choosing their family over you is communicating. You need to be able to express yourself in a way that is safe for your spouse to know that in the end you are going to be on the same page. It helps immensely. And if you aren't quite able to do that yet, go to my website, nickperrine.com, get that free training, and help yourself kind of get out of your own way that will help you communicate and get through this situation together so that you can have the marriage that you want, a thriving marriage where you enjoy each other and you feel chosen, you feel dedicated. You feel like your spouse is dedicated to you. So get that free resource at nickperrine.com. Now, a little background. I know how frustrating this situation is because me and my wife, in our own ways, lived that situation in each other. Whenever we first got married, it was so easy to choose our family over each other. The only reason that I can really pinpoint for that is that we knew the rules for each other, for the family that we came from. We knew how that family that we came, we knew how it worked. We knew our role in it. We were natural at it. We fit in and it was comfortable. In our marriage, we didn't know the rules yet. We were figuring it out. And as we figured it out, we started to realize, oh, you want things this way, but I don't know if I want them that way. It was almost this sandbox of anything could, it was a sandbox world where anything could happen, and it felt disconcerting. And the way that things worked in the family that we came from was just more comfortable, it was easier. It took us a while to try and to figure out how to navigate that together. The things that I'm going to share with you today are bred out of our experiences of walking through the tension of Are you with me, or are you with your family? So I want to break down into two basic categories: things you can control and things you cannot control. I'm assuming that you are the spouse who feels that your spouse is choosing their family. So I'm going to talk specifically to you. I am not going to talk to your spouse, the spouse who is choosing the family. Why? Because you're the one listening to this, and you can only control you. You cannot control what they choose and what they do, but you can be helpful to your spouse and to the vitality of your relationship by what you do. I want you to know that you have power to affect this situation positively, even though you cannot and should not try and control the decisions that your spouse makes. How do you do that? 5 ideas of what you can control in this situation. First thing you can do in this situation that can and will improve your relationship is to understand yourself. Why is this hard for you? What are your fears? What are your desires? What are you bitter at? What expectations that you had are being subverted? What is it in yourself that makes this hard for you? It's vital to know that, because so that you can own your part of it, so that you can give forgiveness where you need to, so that you can seek peace where you need to. This can be hard to do because it's so much easier to look at your spouse and declare that they are the one with the problem. We don't want to do that. That's not helpful for your relationship as a whole. Own what you can own. I'm not negating the fact that your spouse, by all rights, should be choosing you over your family, all other things being equal. But you just can't control their choice. So, understand what makes this hard for you. Second point, after you've understood what makes things hard for you, find peace in Christ, in specifically what makes it hard for you. Are you feeling rejected? Lean into Christ's acceptance of you. Are you feeling unchosen? Lean into the fact that Jesus has chosen you. Are you feeling alone? What does it mean that God is with you? The promises of God speak to the things that in your heart that make this difficult. Here is a gospel summary. The gospel for when your spouse is choosing their family over you is that you were chosen by God. He loves you and is committed to you and will not let anything come between you and him. In fact, he loved you, chose you, committed himself to you, and died for you when you were being half-hearted and wishy-washy in your commitment to him. If you feel like your spouse is being half-hearted toward you, then you know a bit what it was like for Jesus to love you when you were being wishy-washy and half-hearted toward him. you can become and learn, you can become like Jesus. You can learn to love like Jesus loved, because Jesus knows what it's like to be in your situation. Third thing that you can do and that you can control in this situation: choose to understand what makes it hard for your spouse. Here's where the communication comes in. Ask him, what are you afraid of? What do you want? What makes this hard for you? Why are you drawn toward your family, even in a way that might take you away from me? The better you can understand their experience, the more compassion you will have on them, the more creative you will be able to be together for how to solve this situation. But it starts with you making a commitment in your heart to seek to understand what's in your spouse's heart. Fourth thing that you can do in this situation: have grace and be patient with your spouse. Your spouse might not even realize that they are making you feel this way. And probably if he or she is going to need to do some work and some changing to please you if this is happening. Give grace and be patient with the process. I wouldn't want to see your spouse not change, but do not fall into the trap of thinking that your impatience and your bitterness and your anger will help them change. Change happens best in a context where a person will feel free to try and fail and try again. So give grace to your spouse as they try to do better at choosing you. Last thing, it's really helpful to, after you've understood what makes this hard for your spouse, what they're afraid of, what they want, after you've determined in your heart to be patient and graceful with the process, commit in your heart to see the good in what your spouse is valuing. When push comes to shove, your spouse wants to be loyal to the people who have been loyal to him, to his family, to those that committed themselves to him. What a great value. I want your spouse to choose you over his family, all things being equal. But the fact that he wants to support his family and have community with his family and be in the lives of his family, those are all good things. Appreciate that. Know that hopefully in a number of years, you will be the recipient of that loyalty as you have because you have walked through this situation or whatever other situation, and now you are the beneficiary of his or her loyalty to you. You are their family. Give grace for the process. Your spouse wants good things. Now, there are two categories of things you cannot control. No, I'm sorry. There's one category what you cannot control, and it shows up in two different ways. The thing you cannot control in this situation is you cannot control the choices that your spouse makes. And you do not want to try to control the choice that your spouse makes. You need to let your spouse choose to be with you. Now that feels very risky, because what if they don't choose to be with you? That is a necessary aspect of love. Your spouse must have the freedom to choose you, and you are left with the possibility that they won't. But love only happens in a context where two people choose each other. Without choice, it is slavery. You must allow them the choice. Now, some things that I have seen from couples as I work with them, where they fall into trying to coerce or, maybe even passive aggressively sort of nudge each other to make the choice that they want to make. Negatively, that can look like trying to take him or her away from their family. Maybe pestering, complaining, nagging, seeing his or her family as the enemy. Maybe a tit for tat attitude where well, if you're not going to support me in this way, I'm not going to support you in that way. Or the other side of it is trying to make yourself alluring, or trying to make yourself more pleasing to him, to lure him, like a fisherman trying to hook a fish. Do you want to have a marriage where you're trying to hook the fish all the time? That's not the marriage that I want. But I've seen people try to make themselves alluring enough or pleasing enough in some way or another so that their spouse would choose them. Ultimately, your spouse's choice is your spouse's. You need to allow them the choice to choose you. Now, the other way that this looks is a person trying to become a member of the family of origin of their spouse. This also is not that effective, because ultimately you are not getting your spouse to choose you. You are kind of entering the wash. Just, I sort of think of peeing in a creek. Like, you are not, you're just sort of adding something to a bigger thing that is already there, but you are not being chosen. I don't know why you are the pea in this analogy, but okay, you are. You can't add yourself into his or her family. You need to be chosen because you are the family. You can't wiggle your way. There is no way to kind of elbow your way into your spouse choosing you. They just need to choose you, and that is not something that you are going to be able to control. Please do not try. I get that it's frustrating. I get that it's aggravating. Love your spouse well. Have faith that they will choose you because the Lord is going to be helping them do what is right. So you focus on doing what is right. All right, so let me summarize. There are things you can control and things you cannot control in this situation. Focus on the things that you can control. Understand yourself. Find peace in Christ. Understand what is hard for your spouse. Give grace, give patience, and appreciate the good that you already see. Don't get focused on the bad, appreciate the good. Now, one question that I have for you is, what of those 5 things that you can control sticks out to you that you feel like, yes, that is something that I can take on and commit in my heart to do that one thing better? Just choose one for now. What is that one thing? Or are you trying to coerce your spouse away from your family? Or are you trying to make yourself a part of the family out of a desire to be chosen? How do you need to stop that and find rest in the fact that your spouse might reject you, but you are complete in Christ, and in order to have a great marriage, your spouse is ultimately going to have to choose you. So leave me a comment below to answer either one of those questions. And if you have found this helpful in any way, I think you will find my free training, Communicate Better, Be Happy Together, helpful. So go to my website and grab that free training today. It's been great hanging out with you. Thank you so much. If you're still listening to this, I appreciate you so much. I hope you found it helpful. We will talk to you soon.